Buckle up, Buttercup. This video will make you question if you're secretly a biological piñata. Let's get right into it. The One Ring. Starting off sweet at number 10 with every romantic's nightmare scenario. Meet Reed Harris, a guy who thought he had the most adorable proposal plan. Picture this: a cozy date with his girlfriend Caitlin, chocolates, flowers, and the ring hidden at the bottom of her milkshake. Reed is probably rehearsing his speech in his head, getting ready for that magical moment when Caitlin discovers the ring. The perfect Instagram moment waiting to happen, right?
Wrong.
Caitlin was apparently very thirsty that day. She took a couple of enthusiastic sips and, gulp, she swallows the entire thing, ring and all. So now Reed is sitting there watching several $1,000s disappear down her throat and starts panicking. But he's also surprised by the fact she swallowed the whole thing without even flinching. Hey, Reed.
Congratulations.
She's a keeper. The couple rush to the hospital, get an x-ray, and there it is, the ring, just chilling in her stomach like it's on a scenic tour of her digestive tract. So, what does Reed do? This absolute legend bends on his knee and uses the x-ray scan to propose. She said yes, though she had to wait 2 days for the ring to make its natural reappearance before she could actually wear it. Talk about the most expensive and stressful number 2 detour in history. And if you think accidentally swallowing jewelry is wild, just wait until you meet our next guy who's been carrying around a childhood memory for 4 decades. The vintage toy. At number 9, we meet a man whose body took the term playing the long game to a whole new level. Paul Baxter, a 47-year-old postman from the UK who had been dealing with a persistent cough for months. Being a responsible adult, he finally goes to get it checked out. In the UK, it gets pretty cold and wet in winter. Sounds like a fairly standard case of untreated bronchitis, right?
Wrong.
The doctors look at the results and see this mysterious mass that looks suspicious. Everyone's holding their breath, expecting devastating news. But when they did the bronchoscopy, which is when they shove a camera down your air pipe, they found his 7th birthday party still going strong. A tiny Playmobil traffic cone had been directing air traffic in his lungs for 40 years. Paul got this toy when he was 7, and while playing with his little construction set, somehow inhaled this microscopic traffic cone. For 4 decades, through his entire adult life, his postal career, a mortgage, kids, this little plastic guy had been living rent-free in his respiratory system. The wildest part? Paul's body just accepted the new tenant and built around it. That's some serious biological commitment to urban planning. The cone was successfully removed, and Paul's lung finally got to experience traffic flow without construction delays for the first time since the 70s. The Surgical Souvenir. Number 8 proves that hospitals sometimes send you home with more than just a bill that makes you cry and a lollipop. Meet our star patient, a woman who went in for routine surgery and unknowingly left with a very unwanted souvenir. For 3 years, she carried around a pair of surgical forceps inside her abdomen. She probably went through multiple doctor visits and definitely some awkward airport security moments. But here's where it gets wild. She only discovered her surgical stowaway when part of the forceps handle decided to make a guest appearance while she was on her routine poop break. Imagine that phone call to your doctor. When they finally removed the rest of it, the metal was black and corroded from 3 years of marinating in human body fluids. On the bright side, that's one way to tackle iron deficiency. But this isn't some 1 in a million freak accident. In the US alone, around 1,500 patients a year leave the hospital with bonus surgical souvenirs. That's 4 people every single day, unknowingly walking around with scalpels, sponges, and clamps inside them.
Oh no!
Unfortunately, yes. And the technical term for this is retained surgical instruments. So, being a surgeon is one of the hardest jobs. The pressure is insane. The stakes are life or death. And most of the time, they perform daily miracles that seem impossible. They deserve massive respect. Still, it's a little unsettling knowing someone out there is a mobile medical supply closet. This story takes the term hospital discharge to a whole new level. The Uninvited Guest. Lucky number 7 is anything but lucky. A woman in Taiwan started experiencing ear pain and hearing issues. Pretty standard stuff. Maybe some wax buildup. Maybe a minor infection. Nothing a little eardrops couldn't handle, right?
Wrong.
When doctors looked inside her ear, they found a roommate she never invited. A spider just chilling in her ear canal. But wait, it gets so much worse. They also found its molted exoskeleton just hanging out in there. This 8-legged squatter had been there so long it went through a whole wardrobe change. It literally shed its skin and left the old outfit behind like some forgotten laundry. For weeks, this woman had a spider treating her ear canal like a studio apartment. Every time she heard rustling, it wasn't her imagination. It was her rent-free tenant doing renovations, and living so comfortably, it was going through life stages in there. Next, it probably would have started hanging pictures and asking about the Wi-Fi password. The removal process was delicate but successful, and what I imagine was a lot of screaming from everyone involved. Both the spider and its discarded outfit were finally evicted. The woman never went to sleep without earbuds again. And if you think having an uninvited guest redecorate your ear canal is bad, wait until you see what's been growing inside someone at number 4. Quick timeout. Everyone good? Everyone still here?
Unfortunately!
Great, because the next section is where biology stops making sense entirely. We're about to enter the realm where your body becomes a science experiment you never signed up for. The Hitchhiker. At number 6, we have the ultimate lost and found story. When she was 14, a UK woman was playing badminton when she got smacked right in the face by a shuttlecock. Her rigid gas-permeable contact lens disappears, and everyone assumes it just popped out and got lost somewhere on the court. Case closed, right?
Wrong.
Fast forward 28 years. This woman is now 42, living her life, probably completely forgotten about that badminton incident from her teenage years. Then her eyelids start swelling up. She goes to the doctor, thinking it's maybe some kind of infection. They do an MRI and find a cyst. Okay, pretty standard stuff. But when the doctors go in to remove it surgically, they're in shock. Inside that cyst, her teenage contact lens, perfectly preserved like some kind of optical time capsule. This lens didn't just pop out, it popped in and migrated to something called the fornix, which is basically your eyelid's attic space. For 28 years, this woman was walking around with a contact lens just vibing behind her eye. The crazy part? She never felt it. No pain, no discomfort, nothing. Her body just built a little cozy apartment around it and called it a day. This is your reminder to treat your eyes like the VIPs they are. The jewelry box. Halfway there at number 5, and we've arrived at the world's worst piggy bank. A woman shows up at the hospital after 2 months of throwing up after basically every meal. Most of us can't even stick to a diet for 2 days, but this woman powered through 8 weeks of reverse eating before finally deciding maybe something was wrong. Doctors assumed it was a standard digestive issue, or maybe an ulcer.
Wrong.
When they took an x-ray, what they saw belonged more in a pawn shop than in an emergency room. A 3-pound mass of metal, made of 90 coins, necklaces, rings, earrings, and watches. Her stomach looked like a pirate's chest exploded in her digestive tract. Here's where the plot thickens. Her family had been wondering why jewelry kept mysteriously disappearing from her brother's store. He's over here filing police reports, reviewing security footage, probably suspecting his employees, installing new locks, losing sleep over the inventory losses. Meanwhile, the thief was sitting at their dinner table every night, literally digesting the evidence. She was diagnosed with
pica,
a condition that causes people to compulsively eat non-food items, often triggered by stress or underlying mental health issues. But while most people with pica go for ice or chalk, she went straight for the luxury goods department. The surgery to remove all this bling was successful, and her brother's inventory problems were finally solved. The Secret Garden. Meet Ron Sveden, a 75-year-old man who went to the doctor with a persistent cough and shortness of breath. At his age, you're probably thinking the worst, right?
Right.
His doctors certainly were. They did a chest x-ray, expecting to find something serious, something that would require aggressive treatment. But when they looked closer, they discovered Ron had accidentally become the world's first human greenhouse. He had a pea plant growing in his lung, with actual shoots, half an inch of green, sprouted, ready to photosynthesize vegetation, just living its best plant life in Ron's lung. Doctors think he accidentally inhaled a pea while eating, and the seed found its way into his lung tissue. See, here's the thing about pea seeds. They come with their own startup energy, packed inside. Just enough juice to sprout and grow until they can reach sunlight. Ron's lung provided the perfect conditions. Warm, moist, dark. It was basically a high-end greenhouse, just with really terrible ventilation and absolutely zero sunlight. After they removed his unauthorized agriculture project, Ron recovered completely, making medical history as the first human garden. This man took the term going vegan to a totally new level. Ron went in expecting the worst, and came out with a salad starter kit. And if you think that's the weirdest twist, brace yourself. You're not ready for the top 3. The sculpture. Bronze medal goes to a discovery that is guaranteed to make your gag reflex hit the gym. An 18-year-old girl was brought to the hospital suffering from severe malnutrition, vomiting, and weight loss. Her doctors were genuinely worried. She looked seriously unwell and they couldn't figure out why. When doctors finally operated, they pulled out a 10-pound hairball. But this wasn't just any hairball. It was 5 feet long and had formed a perfect cast of her entire upper digestive tract. Picture this, a hairy, compacted sculpture that mapped her stomach, extended through her small intestine, molded every curve and bend. It was like her digestive system decided to make a disgusting self-portrait using hair as the medium. Doctors said it looked like a perfect anatomical model. How can I unhear this? She had trichopagia, also known as Rapunzel syndrome, a rare compulsive disorder where people eat their own hair. For years, she'd been consuming hair strand by strand, and her digestive system had been weaving it into this horrifying internal tapestry. The surgeons who removed this thing probably needed therapy afterward. It's like the world's worst art project that nobody asked for. Is it modern art? Is it a biological horror show? I would say probably both. This young woman is now living her best life with much shorter hair and much healthier habits. Quick poll. What's worse? Plants in your lung? A metal buffet? Squatters in your ears? Or a hair museum?
Yes!
Agreed. Now deep breath because the final two makes medical textbooks cry. The smart nail, runner-up at number 2, redefines what it means to be tough as nails. Meet Dante Autullo from Chicago, a guy who was building a shed in his backyard when his nail gun accidentally misfired. Now, nail guns are serious business. They're basically handheld artillery for construction workers. Dante felt the gun kick, felt the nail just grazing his head, a little blood, bit of a sting. So what does Dante do? Slaps on a Band-Aid and goes back to work. Because apparently, minor head trauma is just a Tuesday in Chicago. A close call, but nothing serious, right?
Wrong.
It wasn't until the next day, when he started feeling nauseous and getting persistent headaches. So Dante drives himself to the hospital. Drives himself, thinking he probably just needs a tetanus shot. The x-ray results came back, and the entire medical staff probably needed a moment to process what they were seeing. A 3.5-inch nail had penetrated straight into Dante's brain. Not grazed it, not nicked it. Fully embedded in his brain. The doctors told him he was literally one sneeze away from deleting himself, one aggressive cough, one vigorous headshake, and that nail could have moved just enough to turn off vital functions. Dante had surgery to remove the nail and recovered completely, probably with a newfound respect for safety equipment. Some people are built different. And yet, as wild as this story is, it's still not as bizarre as the number 1 case on our list. The twin within. And here we are, our number 1 spot. The case that made doctors question everything they thought they knew about human development, and proves that sometimes, truth really is stranger than any fiction you could imagine. Meet Sanju Bhagat from India, a man who endured 36 years of mockery from his community. People called him the pregnant man because of his protruding belly. For over 3 decades, he lived with this unexplained swelling. The constant jokes, the stares, the whispers. He probably tried everything. Diets, exercises, doctors who couldn't explain what was wrong. Maybe it was just an extreme case of beer belly. Something tells me no. At age 36, the growth pressed so hard on his diaphragm he could barely breathe. The pain became unbearable, and he was rushed into emergency surgery. The doctors prepped for the worst-case scenario. Standard procedure, probably done hundreds of times before. But when they opened Sanju up, what they found defied every medical textbook they'd ever studied. It was his twin brother. We're talking about fully formed limbs, bones, hair, fingernails, a partially formed human being that had been living inside Sanju since before birth. This is called
fetus in fetus,
a condition so rare it happens only 1 in 500,000 births.
Wait, that's a lot.
Yes, but it happens only in monozygotic pregnancies, when a single fertilized egg forms identical twins that are very close together in the womb, and one twin absorbs the other. But instead of being broken down, the absorbed twin continues to grow, feeding off the host's blood supply like the world's most disturbing roommate situation. The surgery was successful, and Sanju finally got the answers and the peace he'd been searching for his whole life. And there you have it, the 10 craziest accidental discoveries inside the human body. So, what did we learn today?
Not much!
If anything, the human body is a miracle of nature, and it's very good at adapting and working around problems. Our bodies are elite problem solvers. I'm Gigi, this is Giga Curios. If you enjoyed this video, comment below the craziest thing you found in your belly button. And until next time, stay healthy, stay curious, and please, for the love of everything precious in the universe, watch what you swallow. Hey, you might like this video too.